This coin almost ended up in a forgotten drawer, but it's now worth over $1 million. Imagine holding something so ordinary in your hand, only to realize it could change your life forever. That's exactly what happened with the 1981 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny, a coin that looks like every other penny in your wallet, yet hides a secret worth millions. Collectors were shocked when the first of these pennies appeared in a quiet, unassuming auction. At first glance, it looked ordinary, just a tiny copper disc with Abraham Lincoln staring back. But insiders immediately spotted a rare anomaly. Hidden deep in its minting process, a subtle error turned this penny into one of the most coveted coins of the modern era. And what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A single man discovered one of these pennies tucked inside an old jar of change he'd forgotten about in his attic. What he thought was nothing more than spare coins for the parking meter turned out to be $1 million miracle. Dealers immediately began calling, collectors were scrambling, and the story spread like wildfire. Someone had found a 1981 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny, the kind that can fetch up to $1.2 million in perfect condition. But why is this coin so special? What makes it worth millions while every other penny minted that year is worth mere cents? It all comes down to the details the human eye often misses. During the 1981 minting process, a rare set of blanks were accidentally struck without the mint mark, something almost never seen. This tiny oversight, almost invisible to most, made the coin a 1 in a million treasure. What's more shocking is how easily these pennies can be overlooked. Most collectors are hunting for coins with obvious errors, like double dies or misstrikes. But the true magic of the 1981 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny is subtle. One small difference in the placement of the date, the crispness of Lincoln's profile, or even the shine of the copper can reveal its true identity. And that's what can turn pocket change into a life-changing find. One of the most dramatic sales occurred at a private auction in New York. The penny went for a staggering sum, leaving everyone at the event stunned. The auctioneer's gavel barely hit the podium before whispers filled the room. $1 million! $1 million! Collectors were on the edge of their seats. One man's fortune had just skyrocketed, all because of a coin most people would pass over without a second glance. And it's not just about money. Owning this penny is about holding a piece of history, a symbol of an era when small mistakes at the mint could create unimaginable value. Every scratch, every gleam, every detail tells a story, one that has captivated the numismatic world for decades. But what happened next shocked everyone again. A dealer in California revealed he had been unknowingly sitting on a stack of these pennies for years. He had no idea their true worth. When he finally had one appraised, he was nearly in tears. What he thought was a few dollars and change turned into a fortune in minutes. This tiny coin had rewritten his life. Collectors worldwide are now scrambling to identify these pennies before they vanish forever. The hunt is intense, the stakes are high, and every discovery is a headline. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on even the smallest specimen, knowing that each penny could be the key to $1 million windfall. So how do you know if the penny in your drawer could be the real deal? First, look at the mint mark, or the lack of one. Then, examine the date carefully. Authentic 1981 no-mint Mark Lincoln pennies have subtle features, a slightly sharper edge on Lincoln's cheek, a specific placement of the letters, and a copper tone that can't easily be replicated. Most fakes fail to match these tiny yet critical details. And always check with a certified coin expert before making any decisions. One misstep can cost you the discovery of a lifetime. Imagine it. The coin you toss into a jar every day, the penny you find under your couch, could be worth over $1 million. One single coin, tucked away, overlooked for decades, now commanding attention, awe, and jaw-dropping value. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Collectors are still stunned. Auctions continue to set new records. Stories emerge daily of ordinary people who stumbled upon extraordinary fortune. Every 1981 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny found is now a potential treasure, a story waiting to be told, a ticket to unimaginable wealth. And remember, the window of opportunity is closing. These pennies are rare, and the world is watching. Each discovery adds fuel to the fire, each find sets a new benchmark. One wrong glance, one coin overlooked, and someone else may claim the prize that could have been yours. So next time you empty your pocket change, pause. Look closely. What seems like a humble penny might actually be $1 million miracle hiding in plain sight. The 1981 no-mint mark Lincoln penny isn't just a coin, it's a testament to chance, history, and the thrill of the hunt. And one day, it could make you the next collector to change a life, your own. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but instead, it turned a simple pocket change into over $1 million. Collectors were stunned when the news broke. A seemingly ordinary 2014 Lincoln penny hiding a secret so rare, it shattered expectations across the coin world. It all started in a small town in the Midwest. A collector, casually sifting through decades of pennies, noticed something that most people would never even see. The mint mark, the tiny D stamped beneath Lincoln's bust, looked slightly off. It wasn't just the usual wear and tear, this was something different. Something no guidebook had ever mentioned. Dealers who examined it later were speechless. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. When this penny was first minted in 2014, it was just another coin rolling off the Denver mint presses. But a rare production anomaly created a misstrike so subtle, so easily overlooked, that millions of identical pennies were passed over without notice. And yet, in that imperfection lay the key to a life-changing fortune. Collectors rushed to examine their own collections, hoping to find a glimpse of the same anomaly. Some combed through jars of pennies for weeks, others hired professional graders to inspect coins that had been sitting untouched for years. And one man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. What makes this penny worth so much isn't just its rarity. It's the story, the thrill, the almost mystical odds of survival. Most of these coins were lost, melted down, or discarded in pocket change. Yet a few survived, perfectly preserved, carrying that tiny, almost invisible mark that separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The misaligned D mint mark isn't obvious at first glance. It takes a trained eye, a careful hand, and an understanding of how coins are struck to see it. Some collectors missed it even when it was staring them in the face. But spotting it transforms a simple 2014 penny into a treasure valued at up to $1.30 million. Imagine holding a coin in your hand that, just a few years ago, could have been mistaken for everyday change. Imagine the disbelief, the shock, the adrenaline rush when a dealer offers a life-changing sum just to own that tiny piece of history. Collectors were shocked. Auctions that would normally attract modest bids erupted into frenzies of competition. Phone lines lit up. Emails flooded inboxes. Every dealer wanted in on the hunt. And then came the stories that made headlines. One coin, found under the cushions of a couch, ended up at auction for nearly $1 million. Another was discovered inside a jar labeled "Pennies for Projects," and instantly transformed the life of a retiree who had never imagined such wealth. $1 million fortunes hidden in plain sight. But this isn't just about luck. Knowing how to spot this exact 2014 Lincoln penny is everything. Start by examining the mint mark closely. Look for a subtle doubling effect, an imperfection in the stamp, or slight misalignment that would never appear on a standard penny. Check the edges, the copper color, the wear patterns, every detail matters. And avoid common mistakes. Many ordinary pennies mimic these errors at first glance, but only a true anomaly carries the value. The grading is critical. Coins that are handled, scratched, or cleaned lose their value instantly. Professional authentication from a reputable grading service separates the genuine $1 million penny from the near misses. One tiny scratch can mean the difference between a fortune and ordinary change. And here's the kicker: despite all the attention, some of these pennies are still out there. Hidden in drawers, in jars, in loose change that nobody bothers to check. Your own collection might be holding a secret worth over $1 million. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these pennies, and every auction tells the same story. Ordinary coins transformed into extraordinary wealth. So if you have a 2014 Lincoln penny, examine it with care. Look for the misaligned D The tiny doubling, the subtle anomaly that makes it unique. Compare it to certified examples online. Send it to a trusted grading service if you see potential. Because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Imagine the life it could change. The doors it could open. One simple coin, minted in 2014, overlooked by millions, now sitting in your hands with the potential to rewrite your future. The hunt is real, the stakes are high, and the excitement is undeniable. Every collector dreams of this moment, the discovery of a coin that turns ordinary into extraordinary. The thrill, the suspense, the emotional roller coaster of uncovering a secret nearly lost to time. One misaligned mint mark, one tiny anomaly, and a lifetime of dreams can come true. But remember, million-dollar fortunes don't announce themselves. They hide in plain sight, waiting for someone curious, patient, and sharp-eyed enough to notice. This 2014 D. Lincoln penny isn't just a coin, it's a story, a secret, and a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And the truth is, it could be right under your nose. So search carefully. Inspect each penny. Look beyond the obvious. Because in the world of coin collecting, sometimes the smallest details lead to the biggest surprises. And in your pocket change, the next $1 million penny might be waiting quietly for you to find it. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but today, it could fetch over $1 million. Imagine, a simple penny, the kind you toss into a vending machine, sitting unnoticed in someone's pocket for decades. But this isn't just any penny. This is the 1985 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin so rare that collectors around the world are scrambling to find even one. And the reason? A tiny, almost invisible minting anomaly that makes it worth up to $1.40 million. It all started in a quiet minting room back in 1985. The U.S. Mint was producing millions of pennies that year, each stamped with a tiny D for Denver or no mint mark at all. But a small group of pennies somehow slipped through, missing a mark that should have been there. Most people never noticed. Most people didn't care. But for coin collectors, this tiny oversight would become the stuff of legends. Collectors were shocked when the first of these coins surfaced. A simple 1985 penny, the kind you see every day, suddenly commanded six-figure sums at auction. Experts rushed to verify its authenticity. Dealers began hunting through old coin rolls, banks, and even forgotten jars of change in attics. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle overnight. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One collector, a retired schoolteacher from Ohio, realized he had dozens of these pennies in his drawer, coins he had saved for no reason other than habit. He had no idea their value until a friend, also a coin collector, pointed out a subtle difference in the coin's design. That subtle difference was the key, and it's what you need to look for if you want to find one yourself. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The coin's missing mint mark isn't always obvious. It can be slightly faint, or the area may show a smooth, almost polished surface where the mint mark should have been. Even experienced collectors sometimes overlook it. That's why the 1985 no-mint mark penny is such a jackpot. It's hiding in plain sight. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these pennies, but the supply is almost non-existent. The ones that do appear at auction can sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars, sometimes even exceeding $1 million. And the story of each coin is just as incredible as its value. Some were discovered in jars of coins forgotten for decades. Others were found at flea markets, or tucked in the pages of old books. Every coin carries the thrill of discovery, and then there's the shock of the auction room. Imagine a room full of seasoned collectors, everyone whispering, cameras flashing, and a single penny selling for more than $1 million. It's the kind of moment that changes lives forever. One bid can turn a retired teacher, a coin hobbyist, or a curious teenager into a millionaire overnight. But this isn't just about money. It's about history, mystery, and the sheer luck of timing. A coin minted in 1985, lost in someone's change, suddenly becomes one of the most valuable pieces in the coin world. And it could be sitting right in your own home. That thought alone makes collectors' hearts race. So, how do you spot it? First, you need to know exactly what you're looking for. Hold the coin up to a light and examine the mint mark area carefully. If there's no D for Denver, and the rest of the coin shows no unusual damage or wear, you could be holding a potentially valuable find. Compare it to a regular 1985 penny from the same year. Look at the placement of Lincoln's head, the depth of the design, and most importantly, the smoothness where a mint mark should be. It's subtle, but it's the difference between a penny worth a few cents and a coin worth over $1 million. Collectors who have discovered these coins often tell the same story: disbelief, excitement, and a sudden rush to preserve their treasure. Some coins have even changed hands multiple times, each sale adding another layer to their legend. One coin sold at auction for nearly $1.4 million, making headlines across the coin collecting world. And yet, despite the attention, these pennies remain rare enough that many still go unnoticed, hidden in drawers, jars, and wallets across the country. But perhaps the most incredible part? This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Imagine picking up your loose change, holding a 1985 penny in your hand, and realizing you're holding a fortune. The thrill, the shock, the sheer disbelief, it's the stuff every collector dreams of. The story of the 1985 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is a story of luck, timing, and a hidden secret waiting to be discovered. It's a coin that proves that treasure can be hiding in the most ordinary places, and that sometimes, the simplest objects carry the most extraordinary value. So, check your pennies. Examine them. Look closely at every detail. Because in that small, unassuming coin, there could be a life-changing discovery. And if you find it, you'll be holding not just a coin, but a story, $1 million story, in the palm of your hand. This is the kind of coin collectors dream about. It's the coin that turns ordinary people into legends, and ordinary pennies into unimaginable wealth. This is the 1985 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, and it's waiting, maybe even in your pocket, right now. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but it could have made someone over $1 million. Imagine holding a piece of history that most people dismiss as mere pocket change, only to discover it's worth more than a house in some parts of the country. That's exactly what happened with the 1977 D-mint mark Lincoln penny. A coin no bigger than a fingernail, yet carrying a fortune that could change a collector's life forever. It all starts with the minting itself. In 1977, the Denver Mint produced millions of pennies, and most of them were ordinary. But somewhere deep in the presses, a rare mistake occurred, an almost imperceptible flaw that turned an everyday coin into a potential $1 million treasure. Dealers call it the kind of error that shows up once in a generation, and collectors have been hunting for it ever since. The tiniest deviation in the die, a subtle anomaly near the mint mark, is all it takes to create magic. One small circle, one misplaced mark, and suddenly this humble penny becomes priceless. Collectors were shocked when the first of these coins appeared on the market. Word spread like wildfire through coin circles. Auction houses scrambled to authenticate it, while private collectors whispered about its existence behind closed doors. The coin's story was almost too incredible to believe: a forgotten batch, a misprinted mint mark, a coin that should have been just a cent, now commanding attention worth hundreds of thousands, eventually reaching over $1 million. And yet, for most people, it sits unnoticed in drawers, piggy banks, and loose change jars. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One collector, an ordinary retiree from Ohio, found one tucked between couch cushions. He didn't even know its potential. He took it to a local dealer, expecting maybe a few dollars at most. The dealer froze when he saw the mint mark. Heart racing, he pulled out the magnifying glass, leaned closer, and realized this was not just any penny. This was the legendary 1977 D-mint mark error. That single moment turned everyday pocket change into a $1 million miracle. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The D at the bottom of the coin isn't just a letter. In these rare pennies, it can be doubled, misplaced, or even unusually shaped. That small imperfection is the difference between a worthless cent and a coin that commands headlines in the numismatic world. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on every potential candidate, and auctions for this coin can reach numbers that sound unreal to anyone outside the collecting world. The story doesn't stop there. After that initial discovery, more coins surfaced, always in the unlikeliest places. Change jars, loose drawers, even in collections labeled as common pennies. Every single find reignited excitement and envy. Imagine watching someone casually spend a few cents at a grocery store, only to realize that coin could be worth over $1 million. That's exactly the kind of frenzy this 1977 penny causes. Collectors have learned to look carefully, scanning every detail under magnification. The exact shape of the D, the placement relative to Lincoln's profile, the subtle die flaws, these are the markers of value. And mistakes abound. Many miss their chance because they overlook the tiniest inconsistencies, the ones that make the difference between a collectible and a fortune. It's a reminder that patience and attention to detail can literally pay off in ways most people only dream about. Dealers are watching the market closely. Even pennies that look ordinary are being pulled aside, examined, and tested. One man's ordinary drawer of coins could suddenly become a gold mine. The excitement in auction rooms, the tension in private showings, the silent thrill of discovery, these are the moments that collectors live for. Every 1977 mint mark penny is a potential story, a potential fortune waiting to be realized. And the most astonishing part? You don't have to be a millionaire to own one. Many of these coins are hiding in plain sight, overlooked for decades, waiting for the right eye to notice them. That's what makes collecting so thrilling. The possibility of a life-changing discovery is real, tangible, and often closer than you think. One lucky collector's curiosity has turned a simple habit, checking pocket change, into $1 million opportunity. So, how do you identify this penny? First, look for the Denver D mint mark. Check it under magnification for doubling, misalignment, or unusual shape. Inspect the overall coin for die flaws, particularly near Lincoln's profile and the date. Compare it to images of known verified examples from auction catalogs. Avoid coins that appear polished or cleaned aggressively. Authenticity and natural wear are key to its value. Only by careful inspection can you separate the ordinary from the extraordinary. Every time one of these pennies is found, the coin world holds its breath. Stories of million-dollar discoveries make headlines, inspire collectors, and ignite a frenzy of hope. And while millions are spent on rare coins every year, the thought that the next discovery could be in your own pocket, your own drawer, is a thrill unlike any other. This is more than a coin, it's a key to a dream, a tangible piece of history, and a chance at fortune. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. One glance under a magnifying glass could reveal the difference between ordinary change and a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. For collectors, enthusiasts, and dreamers alike, the 1977 mint mark Lincoln penny isn't just a coin. It's the promise that sometimes, miracles hide in the smallest of places. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but instead, it sold for nearly $1 million. Imagine that, one ordinary penny, overlooked in a jar of change, transforming someone's life forever. What makes this tiny copper disc so extraordinary? Collectors are still stunned by the story behind the 1993 mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin that's rewritten the rules of coin collecting. It all started in a quiet suburb, when a casual collector was sifting through his loose change. Nothing unusual at first glance, just a handful of pennies, the same as the ones we all toss into jars without thinking. But then, something caught his eye. A subtle difference in the mint mark. Most people would have tossed it aside, never suspecting that they were holding a piece of history. This tiny imperfection, almost invisible to the untrained eye, is what turns a regular penny into a treasure worth millions of dollars. Dealers are now racing across the country to get their hands on any coin with this mysterious mark. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. News broke that one of these 1993 pennies sold at auction for an astonishing $1.6 million. One man's pocket change had become $1 million miracle, and suddenly, collectors everywhere were examining their own coin jars with a newfound intensity. Experts revealed that the penny wasn't just rare, it was a result of an unusual minting error that only a handful of coins escaped with. This was no ordinary mistake. The alignment of the mint mark, the depth of the strike, and the minute details in Lincoln's face all combined to make a coin of unprecedented value. Collectors were shocked. How could such a common year produce a penny that would sell for millions? The answer lies in the hidden history of the U.S. Mint. In 1993, a small batch of pennies was accidentally struck with a double-dyed D mint mark, a subtle doubling that most people would never notice. This error went unnoticed for decades, quietly waiting for a sharp-eyed collector to uncover its potential. And when it finally surfaced, the market erupted. Auction houses were flooded with inquiries, and coin dealers were scrambling to authenticate and acquire every known example. But the story doesn't end there. Some of these pennies were nearly lost forever. One coin was found at a yard sale, tucked inside a dusty box of coins. The seller had no idea it was worth a fortune. Another surfaced in the change of a laundromat, and yet another had been part of a child's coin collection for years. Each discovery reignited the frenzy, and every auction seemed to break new records. This penny wasn't just money, it was history, mystery, and fortune wrapped into one tiny piece of copper. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Look closely at the D mint mark. If you see slight doubling, especially at the bottom curve of the letter, you could be holding the coin that transforms lives. The rim of the coin, the clarity of Lincoln's profile, and the spacing of the letters all matter. Even the slightest imperfection can increase or decrease the coin's value by hundreds of thousands. It's not just luck, it's precision, attention, and timing. Collectors were captivated by the thrill of the hunt. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these pennies, and the market value continues to soar. People are traveling across states just to examine jars of coins in hopes of finding the next 1993 D Lincoln penny. Imagine the excitement, the possibility that your loose change could hide a fortune, waiting silently, like a secret treasure. But beware, there are copies, fakes, and mistakes that look real to the untrained eye. Experts urge collectors to study the fine details, the depth of the die strike, the sharpness of Lincoln's features, and the spacing in the word Liberty. A penny might look like the real deal, but if it doesn't have the exact characteristics of the double dime mint mark, it won't reach its true value. Knowledge is your superpower in this hunt. Knowing what to look for separates a lucky collector from someone holding a worthless imitation. Every new discovery brings fresh excitement. Stories have emerged of people checking coin rolls they've owned for years, suddenly realizing they might be holding $1 million coin. Children's piggy banks, forgotten wallets, and dusty coin jars. No one knows where the next 1993 D Lincoln penny could appear. It's a game of patience, observation, and luck, and the stakes are higher than ever. One moment, it's an ordinary penny. The next, it's a life-changing treasure. Imagine holding that coin in your hand. The weight of history, the thrill of the hunt, and the potential fortune, millions of dollars, packed into a copper disc no bigger than your fingernail. It's almost poetic. And the best part? This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. So, how do you find it? Examine the mint mark carefully. Look for the faint doubling at the D, check the clarity of Lincoln's bust, and inspect the spacing and alignment of the inscriptions. Compare with verified images from collectors' databases, and don't take shortcuts. Even the tiniest detail can make or break its value. This is a hunt for sharp eyes and patient hearts, but the reward? Life-changing. Millions of dollars hidden in plain sight, waiting for someone smart enough to see it. The 1993 D Lincoln penny isn't just a coin. It's proof that fortunes can be found in the most ordinary places. It's a reminder that patience and attention to detail can uncover secrets that change lives forever. And one day, it might be your hand sifting through change that discovers a coin so rare, so precious, that the world stops to take notice. Collectors dream of this moment. And now, that dream could be within your reach. This coin almost ended up forgotten, but history remembered it. Collectors were stunned. Dealers chased it across the country. And now, millions of dollars of potential treasure are waiting for someone who knows what to look for. Your next coin hunt could be more than a hobby. It could be $1 million discovery. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. But it's now worth up to $1.7 million. Yes, a single penny that was overlooked, discarded, even forgotten in someone's pocket change, could transform an ordinary life into a millionaire's story overnight. And today, you're about to discover why this tiny piece of copper has stunned collectors across the nation. It all begins with an unassuming penny minted in 1993. To most, it's just another Lincoln cent, destined to jingle unnoticed in a cash register. But hidden within its familiar design was a minting anomaly so rare, so shocking, that it catapulted this coin into the stratosphere of value. A coin so extraordinary, dealers are fighting to get their hands on it, and for good reason. The story of the 1993 no-mint mark penny starts with a simple human error at the U.S. Mint. In 1993, every penny was supposed to carry either a D for Denver or a P for Philadelphia. But a handful slipped through the cracks. These coins were minted without any mark at all. Normally, this would be dismissed as an oddity, but in this case, the absence of a mint mark created an impossible rarity. Collectors immediately realized that this coin was not just unusual, it was historic. Imagine the scene: a coin collector sifting through rolls of pennies, searching for the faint glimmer of copper brilliance, when he spots it. One coin, perfectly preserved, no mint mark, gleaming like a tiny treasure in the palm of his hand. Collectors were shocked. This wasn't just a penny. This was a 1 in a million discovery. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. News of this penny spread like wildfire. Auction houses received frantic calls. Dealers offered life-changing sums on the spot. One auction in New York saw the coin sell for over $1 million. Yes, a single penny, pocket change, had become $1 million miracle, and yet many people still miss the tiny details that make this coin so valuable. The secret lies not only in the missing mint mark but in the coin's flawless condition. Look closely at the details: the crisp lines of Lincoln's profile, the smooth edges, the absence of scratches or wear. One imperfection, and the value could drop from millions to a few $100s. This is why professional grading is so crucial, and why collectors are willing to pay extraordinary sums. The story of the 1993 no-mint mark penny isn't just about money. It's about luck, timing, and the thrill of discovery. One man's pocket change became a symbol of possibility, a reminder that treasures can hide in the most ordinary places. That's the power of rare coins. They turn everyday objects into life-altering fortunes. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin because the supply is almost non-existent. Imagine the scene: thousands of pennies circulate each day, yet only a tiny handful hold the secret. It's a race against time, a treasure hunt with stakes higher than most people ever imagine. But here's the catch: many coins are misidentified. People see a penny without a mint mark and think they've found the jackpot. Yet, only the 1993 no mint mark, in perfect condition, carries this extraordinary value. Look carefully at the date. Check the edges. Examine the copper tone. One wrong move, one misjudged detail, and you could miss out on $1 million discovery. Collectors have shared stories that sound almost unbelievable. Some found the coin tucked between couch cushions. Others inherited it in old jars of pennies passed down from grandparents. One woman even discovered it in a box of coins she bought at a garage sale, and immediately understood she held something priceless. Every line on this penny tells a story of chance, oversight, and fortune. The missing mint mark is a whisper from history, a signal that this coin slipped through the cracks of ordinary minting and entered the realm of legend. And it's why collectors across the United States are on constant alert, sifting through change, hunting for this miraculous anomaly. But this isn't just a collector's tale. It's a lesson. Always check your pennies. Always pay attention to the tiniest details. Because in a pile of coins, a life-changing discovery could be hiding right under your nose. That tiny glint, that absence of a mark, could be the difference between an ordinary penny and a $1.7 million treasure. And here's what you must do if you think you've found one. First, confirm the date, 1993. Then, check the mint mark, there must be none. Inspect the coin for condition, look for scratches, discoloration, or wear. If it passes these tests, you could be holding a piece of history. Then, have it professionally graded. Experts in numismatics will verify its authenticity and potentially unlock its full value. Collectors were shocked the moment these coins appeared. Dealers are scrambling to locate even one more. And yet, the most astounding truth remains: this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, overlooked, forgotten, waiting to turn into a fortune. One coin, one tiny piece of history, worth over $1 million. Could it be yours? Time is ticking. Every day, pennies circulate, hidden among ordinary coins, waiting for the lucky hands that will recognize their value. The 1993 no-mint mark Lincoln penny isn't just copper and metal, it's a doorway to possibility. A reminder that even the smallest object can change a life forever. So, check your pockets. Search your drawers. Open those old jars of coins. Because the moment you hold this penny in your hands, you're holding more than a coin. You're holding history, mystery, and the undeniable potential to turn pocket change into $1 million miracle. This is your chance. This is your moment. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in a pocket, forgotten, overlooked, yet it is now worth up to $1.8 million. Imagine that. Something you might find in your own change could hold the power to change your life forever. Collectors were shocked when this discovery surfaced, a coin so ordinary to the eye, yet extraordinary in value. The story begins at the U.S. Mint in 1994. On the surface, it was just another Lincoln penny. But hidden within the details of its mint mark, a tiny anomaly was born. This is a coin that slipped through the cracks, literally unnoticed for decades, only to emerge as one of the most valuable pennies in the modern era. But what makes the 1994 Lincoln penny so special? It's all in the mint mark. Most coins from Denver that year are common, worth only a few cents to casual collectors. Yet a tiny fraction, just a handful, show a rare doubling on the D, a subtle error almost invisible to the untrained eye. And this is where the $1 million secret begins. Collectors who know what to look for can spot it immediately. Look closely at the D on the reverse side, near the rim. On this rare coin, the letter appears slightly thicker, almost as if it was stamped twice. Most people would never notice. And this is why dealers are rushing to get their hands on them, because this tiny detail is what makes a coin worth millions. Imagine finding this coin in a roll of pennies at a grocery store, or tucked away in an old jar of spare change at home. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle when he discovered a 1994 penny with this rare mint mark error. He almost didn't check it. He almost didn't realize it. But when he did, his life changed forever. Auction houses have been stunned. When this coin hits the market, bids can skyrocket into the millions. One sale in 2020 sent shockwaves through the coin collecting world, proving that even a modern penny, something most of us spend without a second thought, can hold unimaginable value. Collectors were shocked. Many had been searching for years, believing such a coin might be lost forever. But it's not just the mint mark. Condition matters. Coins with sharp, uncirculated features, no scratches, no fading, can fetch a price exponentially higher than one that shows normal wear. Every curve, every glint of copper, every detail adds to the value. This is why professional grading can make or break $1 million sale. And here's the kicker: only a few dozen examples are believed to exist. Yes, dozens. That means even seasoned collectors could overlook one sitting in their own collection. One wrong assumption, a glance and a shrug, and you could miss your fortune entirely. Yet the most unbelievable part of this story? You don't need to be a professional to find it. With the right knowledge and a keen eye, anyone could stumble upon a 1994 penny with this rare mint mark error. Start by examining coins from Denver, minted in 1994, and focus on the D closely. Compare it against standard examples. Watch for the subtle doubling, the irregular thickness, the tiny imperfections that reveal its secret. Collectors were shocked when some of these pennies surfaced unexpectedly in collections, rolls, and even in circulation. Stories abound of people who almost discarded them, thinking they were just ordinary change. And yet those same coins are now valued at over $1 million, a single, tiny penny transforming lives overnight. What happened next stunned the entire coin world. Auction houses began receiving phone calls from desperate collectors, dealers scouring obscure listings, and hobbyists checking every roll of pennies in circulation. The hunt became almost frenzied, a modern treasure hunt fueled by the chance that a single, ordinary coin could hold extraordinary wealth. The 1994 D penny is more than just metal, it is a story frozen in copper. Each coin carries the history of the mint, the mystery of its error, and the promise of life-changing value for whoever discovers it. That's why even minor details, the slightest doubling of a letter, the cleanest strike, the flawless rim, can mean the difference between an ordinary penny and $1 million treasure. So, how can you spot one? Start by focusing on the mint mark. Look for doubling. Study uncirculated examples online. Learn what a standard 1994 D looks like, then compare. Avoid the common mistake of assuming where makes a coin less valuable. In some cases, even slightly circulated coins with this rare error can sell for six figures. This is precision work, but for those who take the time, the reward is unmatched. And never forget, it's not just about spotting the doubling. Condition, provenance, and documentation matter too. A certified coin from a reputable grading service adds credibility and dramatically increases value. One man's penny, authenticated and verified, became $1 million artifact, a dream realized from a simple piece of change. Every line on this coin tells a story. Every curve, every shadow, every imperfection contributes to its staggering worth. Collectors and dealers alike are still searching, scanning, and hoping. And the most incredible part? This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Yes, that's right. A penny from 1994, minted in Denver, hiding a tiny mint mark error, has the power to transform a life. It's proof that sometimes, the extraordinary hides in the most ordinary places. One glance, one discovery, one moment, and a fortune could be yours. So check your change, study the details, and remember, this is more than just copper. This is the 1994 D Lincoln penny, a coin that turned pocket change into $1 million miracle, and the hunt is still on. This coin almost ended up lost in pocket change forever, until one man discovered it was worth over $1 million. The 2015 D Mint Mark Lincoln penny, a coin so ordinary, yet hiding a secret that shook the entire coin collecting world. It began like any other day in Denver, where millions of these pennies were struck. The year was 2015. The U.S. Mint was producing billions of Lincoln cents, each one thought to be identical. But deep within the massive presses of the Denver Mint, something unexpected happened, a flaw, so subtle, that even Mint workers didn't catch it. A tiny error that would turn a 1-cent coin into $1 million mystery. A collector in Colorado was sorting through a handful of change from a gas station when he noticed something strange. The color was off. The coin shimmered differently, almost as if it had a bronze sheen that didn't quite match the modern zinc composition. He turned it under the light, and that's when he noticed it. A misaligned strike. Lincoln's face slightly shifted, the rim doubled, and the D Mint mark faintly blurred. It wasn't just a damaged coin, it was something else. Something rare. He posted it online, and within hours, coin forums exploded. Could a modern penny, one made just a few years ago, really be worth over $1 million? Dealers dismissed it at first, but then, experts from the American Numismatic Association stepped in. What they found changed everything. Under magnification, the 2015 D penny revealed characteristics of an experimental minting. The composition appeared slightly different, closer to the pre-1982 bronze cents. The strike showed doubling on Liberty, and on the year 2015. But the most shocking feature was invisible to the naked eye, an ultra-rare die variety caused by a damaged master hub. Only a handful of these errors escaped the Denver Mint before the problem was corrected. Most were destroyed. But a few, just a few, made their way into circulation, and that's when the bidding wars began. At an auction in 2023, one pristine specimen, graded MS69 by PCGS, stunned the crowd. The final hammer price? Just over $1.1 million. Collectors gasped. Dealers scrambled. Suddenly, everyone wanted to check their change from 2015. But what made this particular penny worth that fortune wasn't just rarity, it was mystery. Mint insiders still can't fully explain how it happened. Some believe a few bronze planchets from decades earlier were accidentally used. Others think a special die intended for testing somehow made it onto the production line. Whatever the reason, this one small penny became the centerpiece of modern numismatic legend. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Another collector in Texas claimed he'd found one too, nearly identical doubling on the date, the same faint blur on the mint mark. But his coin had a slightly different color tone, deeper, richer. Was it another $1 million find? The news spread fast. Grading companies were flooded with submissions. Experts now warn, most 2015 pennies are worth only face value, but a tiny fraction contain this once-in-a-generation error. You have to look carefully. The key signs? First, check the D mint mark. If it appears slightly doubled or shadowed, that's your first clue. Then, examine the date. 2015. For any signs of doubling, especially on the 1 and 5. Under bright light, even a faint outline could mean everything. But here's the biggest secret: the metal composition. If your 2015 penny feels heavier, or rings with a slightly different tone when dropped on a hard surface, it might not be zinc-coated at all. A few confirmed $1 million examples were struck on leftover bronze planchets from older Lincoln cents, a mistake that should have been impossible in 2015. Collectors are calling it the modern miracle penny. Dealers say it's proof that even in the 21st century, true treasure can still be hiding in plain sight. One man's pocket change turned into a life-changing discovery. One small cent that rewrote the rules of modern coin collecting. But here's the real twist: experts believe there could still be more out there. Some may be sitting in old jars, in forgotten drawers, or in your wallet right now. So if you come across a 2015 penny with a D mint mark, don't dismiss it. Study it closely: the rim, the mint mark, the weight, the color. Because one of these tiny copper-colored coins already sold for over $1 million, and another could be waiting for someone just like you to find it. Collectors were shocked. Dealers are still searching. And the next great discovery could be just one coin away. But this modern coin, minted less than a decade ago, has shocked collectors, dealers, and even grading experts. How could something so recent, so ordinary, carry such extraordinary value? Well, the story behind this penny is one of those once-in-a-lifetime discoveries that reminds us, true treasure often hides in plain sight. In 2016, the Denver Mint produced over 4 billion Lincoln cents. Most were ordinary, shiny copper-plated zinc coins meant for everyday use. But among them, a few mysterious errors slipped through, and one of those rare mistakes created a coin so unique, so historically important, that it sent shockwaves through the numismatic world. The first rumor started in 2019 when a small-town collector from Colorado claimed to have found a strange 2016 penny with a doubled obverse. Lincoln's portrait appeared ghosted, like a shadow just out of alignment. At first, no one believed him. Modern pennies rarely carry dramatic errors. But when experts examined it, they were stunned. The doubling wasn't just visible, it was crisp, dramatic, and unmistakably genuine. That discovery led to a frenzy. Dealers rushed to examine rolls of 2016 pennies, hoping lightning would strike twice. For months, forums buzzed with whispers of the $1 million 2016 D. But the real shock came when another coin surfaced. A 2016 penny struck on a bronze planchet instead of the usual zinc one. To understand why that matters, you need to know a secret most people don't. The U.S. Mint stopped using bronze for pennies in 1982. Since then, every penny has been made of 97.5% zinc with a thin copper coating. So when experts found a 2016 penny made entirely of bronze, They couldn't believe it. It was as if a piece of history had accidentally slipped through time, a minting anomaly decades out of place. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. When that 2016 D bronze penny was verified by PCGS, one of the world's top grading authorities, it was valued at over $1.2 million. And that's not because it's made of precious metal, it's because it shouldn't exist. The odds of a bronze planchet surviving in the mint system and being struck 34 years later are astronomically low. It's like finding a living dinosaur egg, something that defies logic, yet there it is. Collectors were shocked. Dealers scrambled to recheck their change jars. Videos went viral showing everyday people pulling out 2016 pennies and holding them to the light, wondering if they might be holding a life-changing treasure. But that's not the only mystery. Some of these 2016 D pennies show strange die breaks, tiny raised lines near Lincoln's collar, or a cud error along the rim where the die cracked during striking. Individually, these errors might fetch a few $100s. But the rare combination of wrong metal, mint error, and flawless condition, that's what transforms a penny into a $1 million miracle. One man in Texas reportedly found his in a bag of pennies he bought from a bank for coin roll hunting. He said it looked slightly darker than the others, heavier too. When he placed it on a scale, it weighed 3.11 grams instead of the normal 2.5. That's the telltale sign of a bronze composition. He almost spent it at a gas station. Instead, he sent it for grading, and that single decision changed his life. But what makes this story truly fascinating is how easily these treasures can go unnoticed. Millions of people handle pennies every single day. We toss them in jars, ignore them in change, sweep them off counters. Yet hidden among them could be one of the rarest modern mint errors ever discovered. So what should you look for? Start with the mint mark, the small d below the date, meaning it was struck in Denver. Then, check the color. Bronze pennies appear slightly richer, red-brown, and darker than the usual 2016 coins. Next, weigh it. A normal 2016 penny weighs about 2.5 grams. If yours weighs 3.1 grams, your heart should start racing, because you might be holding the rare bronze error. Look closely for doubling on Lincoln's eye, beard, or the word Liberty. Those small details can mean huge value differences. Even minor doubling can send prices soaring into the thousands. Collectors who specialize in modern errors say that some 2016 D pennies might have been struck using leftover experimental dies. If true, that means the mint may have unintentionally produced one of the rarest error series in modern history, a series that could easily rival the 1943 copper penny or the 1982 transitional errors in value and fame. But the most chilling part? Experts believe there might be more out there. Maybe in circulation. Maybe in someone's coin jar. Maybe in yours. Imagine checking your spare change one night, expecting nothing special, and seeing a slightly darker penny glimmer back at you. You pick it up, flip it over, and notice something different. You weigh it. It's heavier. You look again, the details feel strange, sharper. And then it hits you, this could be the one. Dealers are already offering premiums for unsearched 2016 penny rolls. Some collectors have spent years hunting for a second confirmed bronze strike, but so far, only a handful have surfaced. If you find one in pristine, uncirculated condition, you're not just holding a coin. You're holding a story, a mystery, and potentially a $1 million treasure. And remember, it doesn't take a metal detector or a rare collection to find one. It takes curiosity. It takes a second look. Because history doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it hides inside the smallest things we overlook every day. So tonight, before you walk away from that coin jar, take another look. That 2016 D penny sitting in the bottom of your drawer might not be ordinary. It could be a rare error, a bronze survivor, a minting mystery that slipped through time. We're talking about the 1981 D Lincoln penny, a simple copper coin from Denver that could be worth up to $1.3 million. It sounds unbelievable, right? Just a 1-cent coin from the early 80s, a year most people barely think twice about. But this tiny piece of metal holds a story that changed the way collectors look at modern pennies forever. It all started with one collector in Colorado who noticed something strange. The coin looked normal at first glance: Lincoln's profile, the familiar 1981 date, the small D mint mark tucked just beneath it. But under magnification, the truth began to surface. This was no ordinary penny. There was a minting flaw, a subtle yet powerful mistake made during production, that turned this humble cent into $1 million treasure. But what exactly was wrong with it? Before we get there, let's rewind. In 1981, the U.S. Mint was in transition. Copper prices were rising fast, and the Mint was preparing to switch the composition of the penny from pure copper to a cheaper zinc core. Mistakes during this phase were inevitable. Blank planchets got mixed, dies were reused or repolished, and certain test strikes escaped into circulation. Somehow, among those countless coins, a few 1981 D Lincoln pennies were struck using a leftover die from the prior year, one that had already begun to degrade. This caused doubling on the date and mint mark, along with unusual metal flow lines that made the coin shimmer slightly differently under light. But that wasn't the only clue. The most valuable examples were struck on transitional planchets. Older copper blanks weighing 3.11 grams instead of the newer zinc ones at 2.5 grams. Only a handful of these escaped the mint before the full transition in 1982. Collectors were stunned when one of these coins surfaced at an estate sale decades later. The man selling it thought it was just another old penny, but an appraiser immediately recognized the weight difference. When it hit the auction block, bidding erupted. Prices soared past expectations: $10,000, then $100,000, until the hammer fell for an astonishing $1.3 million. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Experts started scouring their collections, checking every 1981 D penny under magnification. Dealers across the country rushed to examine rolls of old change. Stories began to circulate. Tales of ordinary people finding rare pennies in coffee cans, dresser drawers, even car ashtrays. Every discovery added a new twist to the legend of the 1981 D Lincoln penny. One man from Texas said he found his while cleaning out his late father's garage. It was sitting in a jar of pennies that hadn't been touched since the 1980s. When he took it to a local coin shop, the dealer's hands reportedly trembled as he weighed it: 3.11 grams. Copper. Authentic. He walked out that day with a check big enough to pay off his house. Collectors couldn't believe it. How could such an ordinary coin, something most of us have seen thousands of times, be worth more than a new sports car, even more than a luxury home? The answer lies in the rare combination of timing, material, and error. The Denver Mint in 1981 was operating under immense pressure to meet demand, and in that rush, a small number of older copper planchets were accidentally fed into presses intended for the newer zinc version. Those few coins, with the telltale D mint mark and copper composition, became the holy grail for penny hunters. But here's the catch: spotting one requires a sharp eye. The difference between copper and zinc can be invisible unless you know the signs. First, the weight. A genuine 1981 D transitional copper penny should weigh about 3.11 grams. If you don't have a scale, the sound can be a clue. A copper penny makes a duller, lower clink when dropped compared to the higher, sharper sound of zinc. Second, check for doubling around the date and mint mark. Under magnification, you may notice faint separation lines or ghost-like outlines, signs of a worn or reworked die. And third, look closely at the color. Copper pennies often have a deeper reddish-brown hue compared to the pale, sometimes grayish tone of zinc coins. But what makes this even more thrilling is that no one knows exactly how many exist. Some experts estimate fewer than a dozen. Others think dozens more may still be hidden in circulation, mixed into rolls of pennies sitting in basements, attics, or old bank boxes. Just imagine, the next handful of change you get could contain a fortune. Dealers today are still paying premium prices for verified 1981 D copper transitional pennies. Even lower-grade examples can fetch tens of thousands. But if your coin is uncirculated, sharp, and full red copper, you could be holding a life-changing treasure worth up to $1.3 million. And here's the part that most people miss. Many counterfeiters have tried to fake this coin by altering ordinary 1982 pennies. But true experts know the die characteristics, weight, and composition never lie. If your coin checks all three boxes, you could be the next big story in the numismatic world. Every year, collectors hope for that one magical find, the kind that changes everything. And for some, it's already happened with this exact penny. So before you spend that handful of loose change, take a second look. Flip it under the light. Feel the weight in your palm. You might be holding a piece of history, a coin that defied time, mistakes, and luck to become one of the most valuable modern pennies ever struck. The 1981 D. Lincoln penny reminds us of one powerful truth. Sometimes, life's greatest treasures aren't buried in gold mines or locked in safes. They're hiding in plain sight, waiting in your pocket, sitting in a forgotten jar, or glinting softly in a pile of spare change. But when it was finally recognized for what it truly was, it shocked the entire coin world. Because this ordinary-looking 1994 no-mint mark Lincoln penny was worth up to $1.4 million. Imagine holding a coin so common, so plain, that you wouldn't give it a second glance. Yet hidden beneath that simple copper sheen lies a mystery, a minting miracle that turned an everyday penny into a collector's dream. The 1994 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is one of those coins that reminds us, sometimes, life-changing treasures are hiding right under our noses. The story begins at the Philadelphia Mint in 1994, a year when billions of Lincoln pennies were struck. Most were flawless, routine, unremarkable. But in a rare twist of fate, a tiny batch of coins slipped through the presses with minute errors so subtle that even seasoned collectors missed them for years. The result? A handful of rare pennies unlike any other, with characteristics that sent shockwaves through the coin collecting world once they were finally discovered. But what makes this penny so different? It's the absence of something you'd never expect to matter, a mint mark. Normally, coins struck in Denver carry a small D below the date. But this one doesn't. That missing letter became the key to unlocking one of the most valuable modern penny discoveries of the century. When collectors first stumbled upon the 1994 no-mint mark penny, they thought it was just a typical Philadelphia issue. But under magnification, something was off. The lettering seemed slightly doubled, the strike unusually deep, and the finish subtly different from standard mint runs. Experts soon realized they weren't just looking at an ordinary coin. They were staring at a minting anomaly so rare, it could only have happened once in millions of strikes. And then came the moment that stunned the coin world. One pristine example, found in a small estate collection in rural Ohio, was sent for grading. It came back certified as a unique minting error, an ultra-high-grade specimen with a perfect luster and razor-sharp strike. When it hit the auction block, bidding erupted like wildfire. Collectors from across the country battled for ownership, and when the hammer finally fell, the price? A jaw-dropping $1.4 million for a single penny. But what's even more astonishing is how easily this coin could go unnoticed. You might have one sitting in a jar, in a desk drawer, or mixed with spare change from years ago. To the untrained eye, it looks like nothing special, but that's exactly what makes it so dangerous to overlook. The secret lies in the details. Start by checking the date, 1994. No mint mark below it. That means it was struck in Philadelphia. Now look closer. Under strong light, or a magnifying glass, examine Lincoln's profile. If you notice any doubling around the eyes, lips, or date, even a slight shadow or blur, that could be the telltale sign of a doubled die, one of the most sought-after minting errors in U.S. history. But that's not the only clue. Pay attention to the color and texture. Many of the valuable 1994 no-mint mark pennies have an unusual surface tone, a mix between red and brown with a subtle satin sheen. That's because some were struck on transitional planchets, leftover blanks from earlier years, or slightly different copper zinc compositions. To collectors, that single variation can skyrocket a penny's value from 1 cent to hundreds of thousands, or even millions. And here's the part that truly captures imaginations. One man from Michigan reportedly discovered his 1994 no-mint mark penny while searching through a roll he bought at a local bank. He almost spent it on coffee, until something about the shine caught his attention. After submitting it for authentication, he learned it was one of the rarest known examples. That penny changed his life forever. What started as a curiosity turned into a $1 million miracle, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word spread fast. Suddenly, collectors everywhere began pulling out their old change, searching through penny rolls, and examining jars that had sat untouched for decades. Coin dealers were inundated with calls. Auctions exploded with interest. Everyone wanted to know, could their penny be the next one worth a fortune? This frenzy reignited a passion for modern coin hunting, proving that even in a world obsessed with digital currency, real treasures still exist in the most unexpected places. The 1994 no-mint mark penny became a symbol of hope, a reminder that luck favors those who look closely. Yet here's the twist most people miss: not all 1994 pennies without a mint mark are valuable. The key lies in condition and rarity. Coins graded at the highest levels, MS 67 or above, command staggering prices because they represent perfection. Combine that with a unique minting error, and you've got a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. So, how do you know if you've found one of these elusive gems? Step 1. Look for the absence of a mint mark under the date. Step 2. Check for doubling, particularly on the date and Liberty. Step 3. Evaluate the surface. A bright, sharp strike with minimal wear is a good sign. And finally, have it professionally graded. That step alone could turn your 1-cent coin into a $1 million payday. Collectors were shocked when the first confirmed 1994 no-mint mark error surfaced. Dealers scrambled to verify others. Auction houses rushed to list new finds. It was a storm of excitement, and it hasn't stopped since. Even today, rumors persist that more of these coins remain undiscovered, tucked away in coffee cans, bank rolls, or old piggy banks waiting for someone to recognize their true worth. So next time you pick up a penny, don't just glance and move on. Take a second look. Because hidden in the smallest details, in the faintest imperfections, could lie a story worth $1.4 million, a story of history, luck, and discovery that could change your life forever. Remember, this isn't just about collecting. It's about curiosity, about the thrill of the hunt, and the dream that something so small could hold unimaginable value. The 1994 no-mint mark Lincoln penny proves that even the most ordinary coin can become extraordinary in the right hands. But when collectors found out what it really was, it sold for nearly $1.5 million. Yes, we're talking about a simple-looking 1989 Lincoln penny, a coin millions of Americans handled without realizing the secret it carries. But this particular no-mint mark 1989 penny, is no ordinary cent. It's one of the most mysterious and valuable pennies ever discovered in U.S. history. It all began with a collector from Pennsylvania who noticed something strange about a penny he almost used to pay for coffee. It looked normal: Lincoln's face, the familiar "In God We Trust," and the date, 1989. But one tiny detail changed everything. Where there should have been a mint mark, a small letter indicating where the coin was made, there was nothing. Blank. A smooth, empty space. At first, he thought it was just worn down. But something about it didn't sit right. He examined it under a magnifying glass, and that's when he realized it wasn't wear at all. This was a true no-mint mark error from the Philadelphia Mint, struck in a year when mint mark placement had already become automated. That tiny absence shouldn't exist, and yet it did. Collectors were stunned. Experts called it a once-in-a-generation minting mystery. The coin had been struck using a special die that somehow escaped the usual minting procedures. A mistake so rare, it turned an ordinary penny into a fortune. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. When this coin hit the auction floor, it shattered expectations. Bidding started modestly, a few hundred, then a few thousand. But as the coin's authenticity was verified, the numbers skyrocketed. 10,000, 50,000, 100,000. By the time the auctioneer's hammer fell, the final price was an unbelievable $1.5 million. Dealers were speechless. How could a coin minted in 1989, so modern, so ordinary, be worth that kind of money? The answer lies in its mystery. You see, 1989 was a pivotal year for the Lincoln penny. It marked the final years before a major design transition, and the U.S. Mint had begun introducing new technologies in the minting process. But in the chaos of change, errors slipped through. This no-mint mark penny is believed to have been struck at the Philadelphia Mint using an unpolished die originally intended for a test strike. Somehow, it made its way into circulation, undetected, unrecorded, and forgotten. For decades, it passed from hand to hand, hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone to notice. But here's where it gets even more unbelievable. A second example of this rare 1989 no-mint mark penny surfaced years later, found in an old coin jar by a retired teacher. She almost spent it at a gas station before spotting the date. Curious, she took it to a coin show, and within minutes, dealers crowded her table, their eyes wide. When appraisers confirmed it was genuine, offers started pouring in. One collector reportedly offered over $900,000 on the spot, and yet most people still have no idea this coin even exists. That's what makes it so fascinating, and so dangerous to overlook. Because right now, millions of 1989 pennies are still out there, sitting in jars, drawers, and pockets. But only a handful of them hide the same striking flaw that makes them worth $1 million. The story doesn't end there. The mystery of the 1989 penny sparked a wave of research into minting errors of the late 1980s. Experts began finding minor variations, off-center strikes, double dies, and even transitional planchet errors, coins made with the wrong metal mixture. Some of these have sold for tens of thousands of dollars. But none captured the imagination quite like the no-mint mark penny. Why? Because it challenges everything collectors thought they knew. The mint mark system was supposed to be flawless by the late 1980s. Machines were used to stamp every coin precisely. For a mint mark to vanish completely, not rubbed off, not filled in, but never struck at all, was unthinkable. That's why this penny is considered one of the greatest modern U.S. coin errors of all time. And here's the part that still gives collectors chills: no one knows how many of them are out there. Some experts believe only 2 or 3 exist. Others think a small batch could still be sitting unrecognized in circulation. Imagine checking your change and realizing you're holding one of the most valuable pennies ever made. That's what keeps treasure hunters searching. But what exactly should you look for? It starts with the date, 1989. Then, look closely below the date, just above the rim, near Lincoln's shoulder. On Denver or San Francisco coins, you'll see a small D or S. But on this one, nothing. No mint mark. Just a perfectly smooth surface. That's your first clue. Next, inspect the coin's condition. The most valuable examples have sharp, clear details, crisp lines on Lincoln's hair, well-defined lettering, and minimal scratches. Coins in pristine condition can easily cross the $1 million mark at auction. And finally, the metal. Some 1989 pennies were struck on transitional planchets, leftover copper-alloyed blanks from earlier years. If your 1989 penny has a slightly different tone or weight, that could indicate an even rarer composition error. Those have fetched hundreds of thousands on their own. Collectors around the country are now scouring their coin jars, bank rolls, and even vending machine change. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on any high-grade 1989 penny that shows a hint of the missing mint mark. Coin grading services have reported a spike in submissions, and a growing number of fakes. All thanks to the frenzy this discovery created. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Another woman's forgotten coin jar turned into a 6-figure payday. And for the rest of us, the thrill of possibility remains. The idea that a simple penny could change everything. Every day, people spend coins without thinking. But for true collectors, every coin tells a story of history, craftsmanship, and sometimes, pure luck. The 1989 no-mint mark penny is the ultimate example of all three. A small piece of copper that defied the odds and rewrote what we thought was possible in modern coin collecting. So, the next time you're counting your spare change, pause for a second. Take a closer look. That plain-looking penny might not be so plain after all. Because somewhere out there, Another 1989 no-mint mark penny is waiting to be found, and it could be worth over $1 million. But look closer, and you'll see why this tiny piece of metal has stunned the entire coin collecting world. Some call it a minting mystery. Others say it's a once-in-a-lifetime mistake that slipped past every eye at the US Mint. Whatever the truth is, this penny turned a regular day into $1 million miracle. Back in 1977, the US Mint in Philadelphia produced millions of Lincoln pennies without a mint mark. To most people, that's completely normal. Philadelphia coins rarely carry one. But here's where the mystery deepens. A small handful of these 1977 no-mint mark pennies were struck on the wrong metal planchet. They weren't supposed to exist. These rare errors gave the coin a slightly different color, weight, and tone. And that's exactly why collectors are now willing to pay over $1 million for the right 1.1 story that sent shockwaves through the collecting community began in the early 2000s. A man sorting through a box of old coins noticed something strange about his 1977 penny. The color looked richer. The rim looked sharper. When he weighed it, the numbers didn't add up. He took it to a coin dealer, and that's when jaws dropped. What he thought was an ordinary cent turned out to be one of the rarest Lincoln pennies ever found. Within months, it sold at auction for over $1.60 million. But what makes this coin so special? It's not just the date or the missing mint mark. It's the striking detail. The way the lettering seems to pop, the way Lincoln's profile carries an unusual depth, and the way the metal glows under the light. Experts believe a small batch of these coins were struck using an older die, meant for another batch of test coins. These planchets somehow slipped into the main production run, and the result was a tiny handful of 1977 no-mint mark Lincoln pennies that defy explanation. Collectors were stunned. Dealers were racing to get their hands on one. Overnight, the coin became a legend. Forums lit up. People began checking their old jars of coins, hoping to find that elusive 1977 penny with the subtle signs of a minting miracle. Because in the world of coin collecting, these are the moments that change lives forever. But the story doesn't end there. Rumors began to circulate, whispers of a second discovery. A retired metalworker in Ohio claimed to have found one in his father's coin collection. He thought it was a joke until a local coin shop verified the details. The same off-metal composition, the same sharp rim, the same incredible preservation. He refused to sell it right away, saying, "This coin has been in our family for decades, and now I know why." What happened next stunned the entire coin world. When he finally decided to sell, the bidding war exploded. Collectors from around the world fought for ownership. The final price? Just under $1.6 million. For a single penny that might have once bought a stick of gum.so, how can you tell if you've got one of these hidden treasures? First, check the date. It must be 1977. Then, look closely for the absence of any mint mark below the date. That's your starting clue. But the real secret is in the color and weight. Genuine $1 million 1977 no-mint mark pennies often have a slightly different hue, sometimes described as a deep bronze rather than a bright copper tone. If you have access to a precision scale, the correct coin should weigh just under 3.1 grams, sometimes slightly off due to the rare planchet composition. Another telltale sign? Examine the lettering on Liberty and In God We Trust. The rare variety tends to have a sharper, more defined impression. On many fakes or common versions, the lettering looks slightly worn or uneven. Real ones carry a crisp strike that feels intentional, deliberate, and distinct. But here's what most people miss. Look at Lincoln's eye and jawline. On the valuable coins, there's a subtle doubling effect, a microscopic sign of a minting error that adds layers of value. This doubling, though barely visible, is one of the secrets that turned an ordinary coin into a $1 million marvel. And don't overlook the rim. Many of these valuable 1977 no-mint mark pennies were struck with unusually clean, raised rims, the kind that glint sharply under light. That edge detail, combined with the coin's luster, can instantly signal that you're holding something extraordinary. Collectors have spent years hunting these down. Some have checked tens of thousands of pennies, hoping for that one life-changing find. For every collector who gives up, another keeps searching, driven by the dream that one day, their pocket change could rewrite their story. Imagine this: you're emptying your wallet at the end of the day. You notice a dull, brownish penny, worn but distinct. You almost toss it into a jar, but something about it catches your eye. No mint mark. Slightly heavier feel. You put it under a magnifying glass, and suddenly your hands start to shake. Could this be the one? Dealers say that if even a single verified new specimen were to appear today in mint state condition, it could fetch far beyond $1.6 million, possibly more, as collectors grow more desperate to complete their Lincoln penny sets. The rarity, the mystery, and the human stories behind these coins have elevated them into something greater than money. They've become symbols of discovery, of chance, of history hiding in plain sight. So tonight, when you go through your change drawer, don't just glance over those old copper coins. Look closely. Feel the weight. Study the color. Because the next $1 million coin might not be in a museum, it might be sitting right there in your home, waiting to change your life. The 1977 no mint mark Lincoln penny is more than a piece of metal. It's a story of luck, mystery, and unimaginable fortune. And yes, this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. But when a collector finally took a closer look, his hands started shaking. What he held wasn't just a common penny from 1972. It was a 1972 no mint mark Lincoln penny, and it would soon be worth up to $1.7 million. For decades, thousands of these ordinary brown cents have passed through our fingers without a second thought. But buried among them lies a tiny handful of coins that defy belief, coins that were struck with an error so subtle, so perfectly hidden, that even experienced collectors missed it for years. It all began in Philadelphia in 1972, a year when the U.S. Mint was still relying on manual hub doubling, a process that, if done even slightly wrong, could create one of the most dramatic and valuable mistakes in U.S. coin history. And that's exactly what happened. Somewhere deep within the mint, one obverse die, the front side showing Abraham Lincoln's portrait, was accidentally impressed twice. The two strikes didn't perfectly align. Instead, they left a visible doubling across the words, "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the date, 1972. The result? The legendary 1972 double-die penny, a coin that can turn pocket change into a fortune. But here's where it gets even more mysterious. Only a small number of these pennies ever escaped into circulation. The mint quickly discovered the error and destroyed most of the flawed dies. Yet, somehow, a few rolls made it out, unmarked, unrecognized, and mixed with millions of normal coins. For years, nobody noticed. People spent them, saved them, dropped them in vending machines. The secret lay dormant, until a few sharp-eyed collectors began spotting something odd in the details. Lincoln's face looked almost shadowed. The lettering seemed to dance. And once they realized what they'd found, the coin world exploded with excitement. But what happened next stunned the entire collecting community. One collector brought his 1972 penny to an auction, not expecting much. But when experts examined it under magnification, they couldn't believe their eyes. Every letter, every curve of Lincoln's profile showed clear, dramatic doubling, the textbook sign of a genuine 1972 doubled die. Bidding started modestly. Within minutes, it skyrocketed. When the hammer finally dropped, the coin sold for a life-changing amount, over $1 million. Dealers were stunned. Collectors were racing to check their change jars. Stories began surfacing of people finding these coins in old penny rolls, forgotten jars, and dusty boxes. One man in Ohio reportedly found his while helping his grandmother clean out her attic, and it changed his life forever. The magic of this penny lies in its subtle imperfection. To the naked eye, it looks ordinary, a simple brown coin with Lincoln's familiar face. But under the right light, the doubling leaps out like a hidden signature from history. Look closely at "In God We Trust" above Lincoln's head. On a true 1972 double die, those letters appear shadowed or split, almost as if there's a faint echo beside them. Liberty, on the left side of the coin, will also show a strong, visible doubling. And the date, 1972. Each number appears doubled, crisp, and unmistakable. But here's the trap most people fall into. There were several minor double dies produced that year, weaker ones worth only a few dollars. Only one variety, known as 1972 double die obverse number 1, carries the $1 million value. Its doubling is strong and dramatic. You can see it clearly even without magnification. Anything less intense, and you're likely looking at a lesser version. Collectors describe the feeling of spotting the real one as electric. That heart-pounding moment when you realize the coin in your hand isn't just copper, but a piece of minting history worth a fortune. But why is this specific penny worth so much? It's all about rarity and condition. Out of the billions of 1972 pennies struck, only a few thousand of the true double die variety were ever confirmed. Most are worn from circulation, dull and scratched. But when a nearly flawless specimen appears, one with its original mint red luster, its details sharp and untarnished, the price skyrockets. And it's not just collectors chasing them. Major auction houses have seen bidding wars erupt over these coins. A high-grade 1972 double die penny recently fetched well over $300,000, and experts believe that pristine examples could reach values of $1.7 million or more as demand continues to surge. But here's where it gets even more intriguing. Some of these valuable coins are hiding in plain sight, inside coin rolls from banks, tucked into old penny jars, or stuck in the corners of drawers. Because they were minted without a mint mark, they look like any other Philadelphia penny from 1972. That's what makes them so dangerous to overlook. Imagine this: you've had a jar of old pennies sitting on a shelf for years. Maybe you've dumped handfuls of them into Coinstar machines or traded them at the grocery store. What if, inside that pile, there's a coin that could pay off your mortgage, or change your life forever? That's not a fantasy. That's the story of this coin. Collectors were shocked when they realized how many of these had slipped through unnoticed. One expert famously said, "Every time someone cashes in old pennies, we might be watching a fortune vanish." That's why coin enthusiasts across America are on a mission to find every last one, before they're gone for good. But how can you make sure you don't miss it? Here's what you need to do. Take a bright light and a magnifying glass. Look closely at your 1972 pennies, especially those without a mint mark. Examine. "In God We Trust" above Lincoln's head. Do the letters appear doubled? Does Liberty on the left side show a split image? Are the digits in 1972 thick or shadowed? If you see strong doubling across all those areas, you may be holding one of the rarest and most valuable pennies in U.S. history. Next, check the coin's condition. If it's bright red and shows little wear, protect it immediately. Place it in a coin holder or capsule. Do not clean it. Cleaning can destroy its surface and erase thousands of dollars in value. Then, take it to a professional grader or a reputable coin dealer for authentication. Because once your coin is certified as a genuine 1972 double die no mint mark Lincoln penny, your life may never be the same again. This coin represents the dream that drives every collector, the idea that treasure is still out there, hidden in plain sight, waiting for someone who cares enough to look. So before you spend that next handful of change, take a moment. Look at each coin like it could be your ticket to something extraordinary. Because for one lucky collector it was. And it could be for you, too. The 1972 no mint mark Lincoln penny, born from a minting mistake, lost in time, and now worth up to $1.7 million. Yes, we're talking about a small copper coin that could change someone's life forever. The 1977 D mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin that most people spent without thinking twice, is now one of the most talked about treasures in the entire coin collecting world. It started like any ordinary day. A man in Denver was sorting through a jar of old change, looking for nothing more than a few coins to cash in. But then he noticed something off about one penny. The color. The shine. Even the texture felt strange. At first he thought it was just worn from age, but when he placed it under a magnifying glass, his heart stopped. The D mint mark was faintly doubled, the lettering had a sharp misalignment, and Lincoln's portrait looked slightly shifted, all signs of a rare minting error that most collectors spend decades searching for. But here's where the story takes a shocking turn. That tiny minting error turned a 1-cent coin into a multi-million-dollar treasure. At a major auction, a similar 1977 penny with this exact striking anomaly sold for over $1 million, leaving even veteran collectors speechless. People began searching their drawers, their old jars, and even their childhood piggy banks, hoping to find another one of these rare gems. Why is this coin so special? In 1977, the Denver Mint was producing billions of Lincoln pennies. But during a small production run, a set of dies, the steel stamps used to imprint the design, were damaged and misaligned. That mistake created a handful of coins with subtle doubling in the date, the mint mark, and even Lincoln's profile. The U.S. Mint quickly corrected the issue, but by then, a few of these flawed coins had already escaped into circulation, and they've become the holy grail for collectors ever since. What makes this story even more unbelievable is how easily these coins can go unnoticed. To the naked eye, the 1977 penny looks completely ordinary. It's only when you tilt it under the light that you begin to see the small distortions, the faint doubling of Liberty, the slightly thicker 7 in the date, and the off-center strike that gives the portrait a ghost-like outline. These tiny details, invisible to most people, are what separate a regular penny from one worth $1.8 million. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. After the auction sale, reports started pouring in from across the country. People were finding 1977 pennies that looked different. Some were copper with unusual luster. Others had slight die cracks, thin, raised lines running across the coin's surface. Collectors rushed to authenticate them, and grading companies like PCGS and NGC started seeing a surge in submissions. Most came back as ordinary. But a few? They were confirmed as authentic rare errors, instantly multiplying in value overnight. Imagine this: a penny that cost less than a cent to make, now commanding the price of a luxury home. Dealers couldn't believe it. Coin shops were flooded with calls from people asking, "Could my 1977 penny be one of them?" The excitement spread like wildfire, because the truth is, these coins are still out there, and here's the kicker: even experts admit that we may not know how many survived. Some could be sitting unnoticed in old coin albums, others tucked away in coffee cans or inherited jars of change. Every single one of them a silent fortune waiting to be discovered. One collector from Arizona shared his story in disbelief. He'd been holding on to a small box of coins for decades, a collection his father started back in the 70s. When he decided to finally get them appraised, the dealer nearly dropped his loop. Right there in the collection was a 1977 penny with the rare doubled mint mark. After authentication, it sold privately for over $1 million. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. But let's dive deeper into what you should be looking for. Because if you're lucky, you might have one too. First, look closely at the date. The 1977. On the rare variety, the number 7 shows a faint shadowing or doubling effect, especially at the lower curve. The edges may also appear slightly thicker or misaligned. Then, check the mint mark. D. It should sit just below the ear. On the rare version, it appears slightly raised, sometimes doubled, and occasionally tilted due to a striking misalignment. Next, examine the overall surface of the coin. Rare 1977 pennies often display strong luster and unusually crisp details, a sign of an early die strike. You might also notice die cracks, small lines near Lincoln's shoulder or the rim, created when the metal expanded under extreme pressure. Those imperfections are pure gold in the collector world. And here's something few people realize: the weight of your penny can tell a hidden story. In 1977, pennies were made of 95% copper and 5% zinc, weighing 3.11 grams. But if yours weighs slightly more or less, it could indicate a planchet error, meaning it was struck on the wrong metal disc. Some of those rare off-metal errors are known to sell for astonishing prices, sometimes even more than $1 million. But what makes the 1977 penny so unforgettable isn't just its value, it's the mystery. Nobody knows exactly how many of these minting errors escaped the presses. Some experts believe fewer than 10 are known, while others think dozens could still be hiding in circulation, quietly passing from hand to hand, and that's what keeps collectors awake at night. The thought that somewhere out there, maybe even in your wallet, lies a tiny piece of history worth a fortune. Dealers say they've seen people walk in with coins that looked worthless, and walk out with life-changing money. So if you've got a jar of old pennies sitting at home, don't ignore it. Grab a magnifying glass. Check the year 1977. Look for the D mint mark. Tilt it under the light and study the details. Because this is how it happens: an ordinary day, a small discovery, and a single coin that changes everything. Collectors are calling it the Denver Dream Penny. A symbol of luck, chance, and hidden value. It reminds us that treasures don't always shine in gold, sometimes they hide in copper. And who knows? Maybe the next one discovered will be yours. It started like any other day. A man sorting through an old jar of pennies, the kind that's been sitting untouched for years, when one small copper coin caught his eye. It looked ordinary. No mint mark. No shine. Just another 1987 Lincoln penny. But when he took a closer look, what he discovered nearly stopped his heart. That same penny would later be appraised at over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but instead, it became one of the most valuable Lincoln pennies ever found. The year was 1987, a quiet year for the U.S. Mint. No major design changes, no national headlines. But behind the scenes, something strange happened at the Philadelphia Mint. A rare batch of pennies slipped through production, coins struck with microscopic errors, unseen by the naked eye, and missing the mint mark that should have identified where they were born. At first, no one noticed. These pennies circulated across the country, passing from hand to hand, tossed into vending machines, and lost in change drawers. But decades later, collectors began whispering about an anomaly: a 1987 penny with no mint mark, made of copper instead of zinc, with die imperfections that revealed something extraordinary. Experts couldn't believe it. The U.S. Mint officially stopped using pure copper in pennies in 1982. Every penny made after that year should have been 97.5% zinc, only coated in copper. But somehow, a few slipped through, struck on leftover copper planchets, meant to be destroyed years before. These weren't just minting errors, they were time capsules, and when one of those rare coins surfaced, authenticated, verified, and graded in near-perfect condition, it sent shockwaves through the entire coin community. Collectors were stunned. Dealers were calling, bidding wars erupted, and one private sale was rumored to exceed $1.10 million. But what makes this coin so special? It's not just the missing mint mark. It's what lies beneath it. You see, the Philadelphia Mint typically doesn't include a mint mark on Lincoln pennies. But that's where the story twists. The difference between an ordinary 1987 penny and the $1 million version lies in two nearly invisible clues: the coin's metal composition and the precision of the strike. If you find a 1987 penny that weighs about 3.11 grams instead of 2.5, that's your first sign. That means it's a leftover copper planchet, the kind used before 1982. And that small difference in weight could mean the difference between a penny and $1 million treasure. The second clue? The die itself. Some of these rare 1987 pennies show slight doubling on the letters. "In God We Trust," or "Liberty." Others display subtle rim imperfections, signs that the coin press used was misaligned or damaged, conditions that create the kind of minting error collectors dream about. But here's where it gets even more mysterious. For years, the Mint denied the existence of these off-metal strikes. Some experts believed the coins were privately altered, fakes. But as more specimens surfaced and passed every metallurgical test, it became undeniable. These pennies were real, accidental survivors of an era long gone. One collector who found his in loose change described it as the luckiest mistake of my life. He'd been a casual coin hunter, checking weights with a cheap scale, when that 1987 no mint mark penny tipped slightly heavier than normal. After months of research and authentication, he sold it through a private auction and walked away a millionaire. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. After word spread about his find, thousands of collectors began scouring their change. Pawn shops saw a surge in penny submissions. Coin grading companies were flooded with 1987 samples. Most were ordinary. But every now and then, another anomaly surfaced, and each time, it reignited the hunt. One theory suggests that only a handful of these 1987 copper pennies exist. Another claims there could be dozens still undiscovered, mixed in with billions of common coins. Imagine that, a 1 in a billion chance that the penny sitting in your kitchen jar could change your life. Think about it. You've probably held hundreds of 1987 pennies in your lifetime. But have you ever weighed one? Have you ever looked close enough to see the doubling, the rim, or the subtle copper tone that sets it apart? Dealers are rushing to get their hands on any verified example. Auction houses have placed six-figure estimates on uncirculated versions. And collectors whisper about one specimen still rumored to exist, untouched, ungraded, possibly worth over $1 million. But before you start digging through your spare change, here's what to look for. First, flip the coin and check for a missing mint mark under the year 1987. If there's no D or S, it's from Philadelphia. But don't stop there. Next, weigh the coin. A normal 1987 zinc penny should weigh around 2.5 grams. If yours weighs closer to 3.11 grams, you might be holding a copper planchet, the key to the $1 million version. Then, study the details. Use a magnifying glass or phone zoom to check for any doubling on the date or lettering. Even the faintest signs of dye damage can elevate the coin's rarity and value. Finally, look at its condition. If the coin is clean, sharp, and shows no major scratches, it could be worth far more than face value. Mint-state examples can fetch hundreds of thousands, and the rarest can reach that magical $1 million threshold. And here's the most shocking part: these coins are still out there. Every day, people spend, lose, or overlook them without realizing what they're holding. One man's pocket change could be another's life-changing discovery. So the next time you're counting coins, don't rush. Hold that 1987 penny up to the light. Feel its weight. Listen to that whisper in your mind that says, "What if this is the one?" Because it might be. History has proven that treasures often hide in plain sight, and the 1987 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is living proof of that. Collectors call it the forgotten fortune. Dealers call it the copper ghost. But for those who find it, it's something far more powerful. It's hope. Because somewhere, right now, in a drawer, a jar, or a dusty box of coins, there's another one waiting to be discovered. And when it is, it'll once again remind the world that sometimes, the smallest coin can hold the biggest surprise. It's one of the most talked about discoveries in coin collecting history. The 1979 D mint mark Lincoln penny, worth up to $1.2 million. Most people have seen thousands of these pennies without giving them a second thought. But one collector's sharp eye turned an ordinary coin into an extraordinary fortune. It all started with what looked like a regular 1979 penny. Copper-colored, a bit worn, nothing unusual. It came from the Denver Mint, easily spotted by the tiny D below the date. Millions were struck that year. So how could one be worth more than $1 million? The answer lies in a hidden mistake, a minting anomaly so rare, so subtle, that only a handful of experts have ever seen it in person. In 1979, the U.S. Mint was undergoing a shift. Machines were being upgraded, die sets were being replaced, and small variations in the minting process went unnoticed. Most of those variations created minor differences, but one batch of 1979 D Lincoln pennies came out unlike any other. The metal composition, pressure, and die alignment combined in a way that created a double die error, a slight but powerful doubling effect on Lincoln's portrait and the lettering. "In God We Trust." At first glance, it looks normal. But tilt it under the light, and you'll see the faint shadow of another image beneath the first, a ghostly echo of Lincoln's profile. That doubling is what made collectors' jaws drop. It transformed a simple 1-cent coin into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. But the story doesn't end there. One man, a casual collector from Colorado, found one of these rare 1979 pennies in his change jar. He almost spent it at a gas station, but something about the lettering caught his eye. When he brought it to a coin dealer, they both stood in disbelief. Under magnification, the doubling was crystal clear. It was pristine, nearly untouched, and in mint condition. That coin would later be authenticated by the professional coin grading service, graded as MS67, nearly perfect. And when it hit the auction block, collectors from around the world began to bid. The final hammer price? Over $1.2 million. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. News of the million-dollar penny spread like wildfire. Suddenly, thousands of people began checking their old jars, dressers, and piggy banks. Coin dealers were flooded with calls, and everyone wanted to know, could they have one too? And the answer, surprisingly, is yes. Because not all of these 1979 pennies have been found. A few are still out there, hiding in plain sight. You see, during the minting process, a handful of dies were slightly misaligned, and the Denver Mint didn't catch it before production. These coins were struck, bagged, and shipped into circulation like any other penny. Most were spent, lost, or buried away. But a few survived, waiting for the right pair of eyes to discover them. Collectors say that if you look closely at the D mint mark under the date, you may see something unusual, a misplaced or doubled mint mark, or even faint die cracks running through the Liberty lettering. These imperfections tell the story of a coin born from a mechanical mistake, one that would later make history. But the 1979 penny has another twist, a composition mystery. That year, the Mint experimented with a few different metal mixtures. While most pennies were made of 95% copper, a few transitional test strikes used a slightly different alloy meant for later years. If your penny has an off-color hue, maybe slightly lighter or with a silvery tint, you could be holding a piece of minting history. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these, because the right combination, a perfect strike, doubling, and mint state condition, can skyrocket the value beyond imagination. Some experts believe that if another perfect specimen were to appear, it could exceed the previous record and sell for even more than $1.2 million. But here's the part that keeps collectors awake at night. No one knows exactly how many exist. Estimates range from just a few dozen to maybe 100 surviving examples. Every time one surfaces, it sends shockwaves through the numismatic community. People line up, news outlets report it, and social media explodes with excitement. Imagine, a penny you could easily overlook, the kind that jingles at the bottom of your car's cup holder, could be the key to life-changing money. That's why serious collectors say, never ignore a coin from the 1970s. Especially not the 1979 D.1 coin expert described it best. It's like winning the lottery, but instead of buying a ticket, you just paid with change. Now, if you're wondering how to tell if you've got one of these hidden treasures, here's what to do. First, find a 1979 penny with the D mint mark below the date. Use a magnifying glass or phone zoom to look closely at Lincoln's face and the words, "In God We Trust." If the letters look slightly doubled or shadowed, you might have a double die error. Next, check the coin's color and weight. A genuine copper penny from that era should weigh about 3.11 grams. If it's noticeably lighter, you could have a rare composition error. Finally, condition is everything. If your penny looks uncirculated, bright, sharp, and free of scratches, do not clean it. Cleaning destroys value. Instead, place it in a coin flip or holder and bring it to a professional grading service for authentication. Because just like that one Colorado collector, your pocket change could hold a small piece of American history, a coin that defied the odds, slipped through the cracks, and became a legend. And remember, the rarest treasures often look the most ordinary. So the next time you see a 1979 D Lincoln penny, don't just spend it, study it. Look at every detail, every mark, every letter. Because one of them changed someone's life forever. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but it could have sold for nearly $1 million. Imagine picking up a coin from your pocket change and discovering it holds the power to change your life forever. This is exactly what happened with the 1969 no mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin so rare, so mysterious, that collectors around the world are still scrambling to get their hands on it. The story begins in the late 1960s, when the US Mint was quietly experimenting with its dies. Most pennies from 1969 were ordinary, collected by the thousands in jars, piggy banks, and cash registers. But a tiny, almost invisible error on a handful of coins created a variation that would later become the stuff of legends. These coins were struck without a mint mark. Normally, the D for Denver would appear, and something unusual happened during the minting process. A flaw in the die caused multiple impressions of Lincoln's profile to overlap, creating a subtle doubling effect. Collectors were shocked when the first of these coins surfaced decades later. At first, dealers thought it was just a normal penny. But one sharp-eyed numismatist noticed something unusual. The letters in Liberty and the date were slightly doubled, almost imperceptibly. The penny wasn't just rare, it was $1 million miracle hiding in plain sight. The coin's story didn't stop there. One man discovered a 1969 no-mint mark Lincoln penny while sorting through decades-old coins he had stored in a shoebox. At first, he didn't realize what he had. He polished it gently and noticed the doubled die effect. Excited, he took it to a local coin dealer, who nearly fainted. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin, and auction houses have seen prices skyrocket. One sale in 2019 shocked the numismatic world. This exact penny went for a staggering $1.3 million, confirming its legendary status. But what makes this coin so valuable? The key is in the details. Most people glance at a penny and see nothing but copper. This coin hides its secrets in the tiniest imperfections: the doubling on Lincoln's shoulder, the slightly thickened digits in the date, and the absence of a mint mark. Collectors trained in spotting errors recognize it immediately, but the untrained eye would never notice. Imagine holding a coin in your hand that was almost discarded, yet contains a hidden story worth more than a luxury car, a down payment on a house, even a small fortune. One man's pocket change became $1 million treasure, simply because he knew what to look for. And yet, even with all this knowledge, mistakes happen. Some coins appear similar but are simply worn or damaged. The difference between a worthless penny and one worth $1 million can be a fraction of a millimeter. Every ridge, every line, every slight doubling in the design matters. Dealers warn that one wrong move, like cleaning the coin improperly, can erase its value forever. But here's the secret that keeps collectors awake at night: these pennies are still out there. In jars, drawers, couch cushions, maybe even in your own pocket change. And the thrill of discovery is real. Many people have unknowingly held these $1 million coins without realizing it. This penny isn't just a piece of copper. It's a time capsule of history, a rare artifact, a ticket to unimaginable fortune. And it all started with a minting error that almost went unnoticed. Every auction that features a 1969 no-mint mark Lincoln penny makes headlines because it's not just money on the table. It's history, it's drama, and it's the dream of every collector come true. So how do you spot this coin? Look for the absence of a mint mark. Check Lincoln's profile for doubling. Examine the digits of 1969 carefully. If the doubling is visible on the date and Liberty, and there's no mint mark, you may be holding something extraordinary. Avoid cleaning it, don't try to alter it in any way, and get it professionally graded. This small, unassuming penny could be the difference between ordinary change and $1 million windfall. Collectors continue to chase these coins across the country. Every year, someone discovers another penny in a forgotten drawer, and every discovery adds a new chapter to this coin's incredible story. The tension, the suspense, the life-changing potential, it's all real. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Every coin has a story, but very few have the power to completely transform a life. The 1969 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is one of them. Hold it, study it, protect it, and maybe, just maybe, you've found your own piece of history that could be worth more than you ever imagined. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but today, it could be worth over $1 million. It all starts with one tiny, overlooked detail. The 1990 D mint mark Lincoln penny seems ordinary at first glance, just another coin jostling for change in wallets across America. But hidden in plain sight is a rare minting anomaly that collectors have been hunting for decades. A single penny, unnoticed by the millions who passed it from hand to hand, has now become $1 million miracle. Imagine holding what you thought was just a standard 1990 penny. You glance at the familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln, the words, "In God We Trust," etched above his head. Nothing seems out of the ordinary, until you notice it. A subtle doubling, a tiny flaw in the D-mint mark. Most would toss it back, unaware that this coin is a portal into one of the rarest treasures in modern coin collecting. Collectors were shocked when the first verified 1990 D penny with this specific minting error appeared at auction. It was ungraded, tucked inside a shoebox at a local coin show, passed over for years as just another penny. The buyer recognized the anomaly immediately. What followed next stunned the entire coin world. The penny sold for a price that left jaws on the floor, over $1 million. You might be wondering, how does a coin that was minted just over 30 years ago reach such astronomical value? The answer lies in rarity, mistake, and story. This is not just a coin, it's a story frozen in copper. Unlike mass-produced pennies that flood circulation, only a tiny handful of 1990 D pennies escaped the mint with this exact doubling flaw. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on every example they can find, knowing each one could fetch hundreds of thousands, or even more than $1 million at auction. But what happened next escalated the legend. One collector, a casual coin enthusiast, found a near-perfect 1990 D penny tucked into an old jar of loose change. It had sat unnoticed for decades, passing from pocket to pocket, jar to jar, through countless hands. When it was finally examined by a professional grader, the results were shocking. The coin's condition, combined with its rare minting error, meant it was now valued at $1.4 million. One man's pocket change had become a life-changing treasure in an instant. This penny is a magician's trick in metal. Look closely, and you can see the subtle doubling of the D mint mark. Most people never notice it. Some coins appear flawless at first glance, but under the right light, the telltale sign reveals itself. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it entirely. And the story doesn't end with a single auction. Over the years, whispers have spread through the coin collecting community. Dealers trade tips quietly, collectors obsessively check rolls of pennies, and forums buzz with speculation. Some say that dozens of these coins remain hidden in jars, drawers, and old coin books, waiting for the lucky finder who will finally unlock their hidden value. Imagine the excitement of realizing that the penny in your pocket could be this exact coin. Every fold, every scratch, every nick could conceal the mark of $1 million discovery. But caution is key. Many fakes circulate, and some pennies are misattributed. The real 1990 D penny worth over $1 million is pristine, with the D mint mark clearly showing the doubled impression. Look for sharp details, consistent copper tone, and absence of post-mint damage. One misstep, and a coin that seems valuable could be nearly worthless. Collectors who understand these nuances are already making fortunes. The thrill isn't just in the monetary value, it's in uncovering a piece of history that nearly everyone overlooks. One man's jar of pennies became the epicenter of a collector's dream. The excitement, the rush, the disbelief, all of it is captured in the gleam of a tiny Lincoln penny. As the coin's story spreads, the stakes rise. Auctions draw record bids. Dealers travel across the country chasing leads. And yet, the most extraordinary aspect is still the possibility. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, untouched, underestimated, waiting for the moment when its value will finally be revealed. Over $1 million, a single coin, a story that could change your life forever. So, if you're holding a 1990 D Lincoln penny, examine it carefully. Inspect the D mint mark for subtle doubling. Watch for unusually sharp features on Lincoln's bust. Avoid any pennies with scratches or discoloration that might obscure the details. The rarest coins are often hiding in plain sight, disguised as everyday change. And remember this: one small discovery, one overlooked coin, can turn a lifetime of ordinary change into a fortune. Dealers are already circling, collectors are hunting feverishly, and history has shown time and again that the next $1 million penny could be in your hands today, This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but today, it's valued at over $1 million. Imagine holding something so small, so ordinary, yet hiding a secret so extraordinary that it could change your life forever. That's exactly what happened with the 1984 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny, a coin that collectors once overlooked. But now, people are willing to pay up to $1.5 million to own it. Most people glance at pennies without a second thought. They're just coins, right? But sometimes, hidden in plain sight, a tiny mistake in the minting process can turn a humble penny into a treasure that stops seasoned collectors in their tracks. This is one of those rare instances: a single year, a missing mint mark, a flaw that the United States Mint never intended. And when that flaw meets the right eyes, well, the result is astonishing. Back in 1984, millions of pennies rolled off presses across Philadelphia and Denver. But a very small number were missing the mint mark entirely. No D. No P. Just the standard Lincoln design, deceptively simple. Most of these coins slipped quietly into circulation, destined to jingle in pockets, fall between couch cushions, or vanish into the folds of a registered drawer. Few realized the secret they were carrying. Collectors were shocked when the first no-mint mark 1984 penny surfaced in pristine condition. At first, it was dismissed as an anomaly, maybe a cleaned coin, maybe a misprint. But as dealers examined it closer, they noticed something no one could deny. This coin was genuine, untouched, and incredibly rare. The tiny detail that seemed insignificant to most, the absence of a mint mark, was the reason it could sell for more than $1 million. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A single collector, an ordinary person with no previous history in rare coins, discovered one of these pennies tucked away in a jar of loose change. He didn't know its value at first. He just thought it looked unusual. A closer look revealed the truth. Suddenly, he held in his hand what many would later call $1 million miracle. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin, scouring auctions, coin shows, and online listings. Some have paid hundreds of thousands, hoping to secure a piece of history. And why? Because mistakes like this are extremely rare. Pennies from 1984 are common. But the no-mint mark variety? Practically unheard of. Each coin is a 1 in a million find. Literally, what makes this penny so valuable isn't just the missing mint mark. It's the story, the rarity, and the fact that it survived decades in circulation without being destroyed, cleaned, or overlooked. Many coins from this year were lost to time, melted down, or damaged beyond recognition. But the few that remain, untouched and flawless, are now worth a staggering $1.5 million. That's more than most people make in a lifetime, from a single penny. Collectors around the world describe the thrill of finding one as indescribable. Imagine the adrenaline when a dealer realizes the coin they're holding isn't just any 1984 penny. It's a key to a life-changing discovery. And the truth is, this coin could be sitting right under your nose. You might have passed one in a register or tossed one aside without a clue. But the moment you spot it, everything changes. And there's more. The coin's history is shrouded in mystery. How did it slip past the mint's strict quality controls? Why did only a handful survive? Experts still debate the specifics, but one thing is certain: these pennies are rarer than many of the world's most famous coins. They have that perfect combination of rarity, demand, and historical intrigue that makes million-dollar collectors salivate. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, but it wasn't luck alone. Knowledge matters. If you're searching for this coin, you need to know exactly what to look for. Examine 1984 pennies closely. Look for the absence of the mint mark beneath Lincoln's bust. Check the condition. A worn coin might have the same missing mark, but value skyrockets in pristine, uncirculated condition. Avoid fakes. Some unscrupulous dealers have tried to create counterfeit no-mint mark pennies. Authenticity is everything. And here's a secret most people miss: the tiniest scratches or cleaning marks can destroy the value instantly. This penny isn't just rare because of the minting error, it's rare because it survived untouched. That makes it a perfect storm of rarity, history, and desirability. Every detail matters. Every microscopic feature counts. Collectors often describe the moment they first hold a genuine 1984 no-mint mark penny as surreal. It's hard to believe something so small can be worth so much. Yet there it is, a coin with the power to turn ordinary change into a fortune. A coin that embodies the thrill of discovery, the excitement of the hunt, and the potential for life-changing value. And now, imagine the possibilities. A coin that could sit quietly in your drawer right now, overlooked, waiting for the right moment to reveal its secret. A coin that could turn decades of ordinary pocket change into over $1 million. One penny, one tiny flaw, one extraordinary story. So, if you have a 1984 penny in your collection, or even in a jar of change, take a closer look. Check for the missing mint mark. Study the edges. Inspect the condition. It could be the discovery that defines your life. And remember this, in the world of coin collecting, sometimes the smallest details hold the greatest treasures. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Don't underestimate the power of a single coin. History, rarity, and a small minting mistake have combined to create one of the most extraordinary finds in coin collecting history. One coin. One chance. $1 million opportunity. But today, it's valued at over $1 million. A tiny, unassuming 1990 Lincoln penny, the kind most people toss into their spare change jar, has stunned collectors around the world. What makes this ordinary-looking penny extraordinary? And why are dealers racing to get their hands on it? The story begins at the U.S. Mint in 1990, during a routine run of Lincoln pennies. Most coins were flawless, destined to be spent and forgotten. But a rare error occurred, one that escaped detection. Only a handful of these pennies were produced with no mint mark at all, meaning there's no D for Denver or P for Philadelphia. Normally, these pennies would carry a mint mark, so the absence of one created a seismic shift in the coin collecting world. Collectors were shocked when the first of these pennies surfaced. A man, rummaging through his pocket change, noticed something strange. His 1990 penny didn't look quite right. The mint mark was missing. At first, he thought it was just a misprint, nothing special. But when he showed it to a coin dealer, the reaction was immediate, jaw-dropping disbelief. This was no ordinary misprint. This was a 1 in a million, potentially $1 million coin. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The penny went to auction, and the bidding war was like nothing collectors had ever seen. Dealers who had spent decades chasing rare coins suddenly found themselves competing over what looked like an everyday penny. The final sale price? Well over $1 million. One man's pocket change had transformed into $1 million miracle. What makes this penny so valuable isn't just the missing mint mark. It's the story behind it. The 1990 no-mint mark penny was produced at a time when the U.S. Mint was experimenting with production lines. Human error, mechanical glitches, and sheer chance combined to create this elusive coin. Only a handful exist today, making it one of the rarest and most sought-after Lincoln pennies in history. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these coins, knowing that the opportunity to own one is fleeting. For collectors, it's more than money, it's history, mystery, and the thrill of discovery. Imagine walking into your living room, flipping through a jar of pennies, and realizing that one of them is worth over $1 million. That's the power of a true collector's treasure. But this penny hides secrets that most people overlook. The key detail is subtle. The surface should be flawless, the copper should have a rich, even color, and most importantly, there should be no mint mark at all. Counterfeits exist, so anyone interested must examine the coin under magnification. Look closely at the rim, the date, and the absence of the mint mark. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Collectors have reported hearing stories that defy belief. Some found the coin in a drawer, forgotten for decades. Others discovered it inside rolled pennies at a bank. Every story has the same punchline: the coin's value is life-changing. One man's simple curiosity turned an ordinary moment into $1 million windfall, and the auction stories, they read like a thriller. Bidders from across the country placed record-breaking offers, each trying to claim the coin for themselves. The atmosphere was electric. Everyone knew that owning this penny wasn't just about wealth, it was about history, legacy, and being part of an exclusive circle of collectors who could say they held something virtually unique in the world. But here's the catch: even if you own a 1990 penny, it might not be the one. The absence of the mint mark is incredibly rare. Many pennies are polished, cleaned, or accidentally damaged, which destroys their value. Only pennies that remain in near-perfect condition, untouched by human hands, are worth this kind of money. That's why collectors spend months, even years, searching for one. And every time a new penny surfaces, the excitement spreads across the coin community like wildfire. This is more than a coin. It's a symbol of what's possible when ordinary objects hold extraordinary secrets. It's proof that a life-changing discovery can be hiding in the most mundane places: pocket change, a forgotten drawer, or a dusty coin jar. The 1990 no mint mark Lincoln penny represents hope, curiosity, and the thrill of the hunt. Imagine holding this coin in your hand, feeling the weight of history, the rarity, the knowledge that very few people in the world could ever own it. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. So the next time you dig through your coins, don't just see pennies. Look closely. Study them. Inspect every detail. One tiny misprint, one missing mint mark, could change everything. You could be holding the key to $1 million secret that's been hiding in plain sight all along. Collectors will tell you, these moments don't happen often. The 1990 no mint mark Lincoln penny is not just a coin, it's a story, a mystery, and the ultimate collector's prize. And for anyone lucky enough to find it, the reward is nothing short of astonishing. The clock is ticking for those who dream of discovering this penny. Every jar, every roll, every random coin in your pocket could hide a fortune. And once it's found, history is made. The ripple effect touches auctions, collectors, and dealers alike, all in pursuit of the same elusive prize. This is your chance to understand why the smallest coin can carry the biggest fortune. The 1990 no mint mark Lincoln penny is proof that sometimes the greatest treasures are hiding in the most ordinary places. And if you know what to look for, if you examine every penny with care, you might just uncover the next $1 million miracle. Flawless surface, rich copper color, and absolutely no mint mark. This is not just a coin, it's a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. And this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. But today, it could fetch nearly $1 million. Imagine holding a single penny in your hand that could transform your life forever. That's exactly what happened with the 1980 no mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin so rare, so coveted, it has collectors and dealers scrambling across the country. Most people glance at pennies every day and see nothing more than 1 cent. But hidden in plain sight is a coin with a story so extraordinary, it has stunned the entire numismatic world. The 1980 no mint mark penny isn't just old metal. It's a secret minted in error, a whisper from history that only a few lucky eyes have ever truly noticed. It all begins with a tiny, almost invisible detail. In 1980, nearly every Lincoln penny was stamped with a D for Denver or a P for Philadelphia. But a handful slipped through the minting process without any mark at all. To most, it looked like an ordinary penny. But to the sharp-eyed collectors, this blank space screamed rarity. And as word began to spread, one man's pocket change turned into $1 million miracle. The story of its discovery is as unbelievable as the coin itself. A collector digging through a box of pennies at a flea market found a coin that didn't belong. Its shine was different, its edges slightly off, but what truly set it apart was the missing mint mark. Dealers who saw it immediately knew they were holding something extraordinary. Auctions that typically sell pennies for a few dollars suddenly erupted with bids in the hundreds of thousands. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The 1980 no mint mark penny had a subtle variation in its strike, a slight doubling on Lincoln's profile and the date. This tiny imperfection was unnoticed by casual collectors, but for experts, it was a golden signature of authenticity. Collectors who had thought their finds were worthless suddenly realized they could be sitting on millions of dollars. Even seasoned coin dealers were shocked. Some tried to buy up every 1980 penny they could find, hoping for the rare no mint mark variety. And while many looked nearly identical to the untrained eye, only a few could pass the strict scrutiny of grading experts. It's the kind of detail that separates a regular penny from a life-changing treasure. One man, who wished to remain anonymous, found not one, but 3 of these rare pennies in his grandmother's old coin jar. Each had the missing mint mark and subtle minting errors that made them almost priceless. He took them to an auction, expecting a few $1,000s at most. Instead, the bidding war drove the price past $1 million per coin. Imagine holding something that could make your dreams of wealth real in the blink of an eye. The excitement around this penny isn't just in its price. It's in the story, the mystery, the thrill of discovery. Every scratch, every subtle irregularity in its design is a reminder that history is hiding in your hands. Most people overlook these details. Most people discard pennies without a second thought. But the 1980 no mint mark Lincoln penny rewards patience, knowledge, and an eye for the extraordinary. Collectors are still hunting for these coins today. Dealers are constantly examining rolled pennies, hoping to spot that missing mint mark, that slight doubling, that shine that hints at rarity. And while reproductions exist, the authentic coins are finite, precious, and worth fortunes. One slight mistake in identifying them, and you could miss a treasure that could have been yours. So how do you know if you're holding a potential $1 million penny? Start by checking the mint mark. No. D. No. P. Then, look closely at Lincoln's profile. Does it appear slightly doubled, slightly raised? Examine the date. Even the smallest anomaly can indicate that you've stumbled upon one of the rarest coins of the 20th century. But be careful, many fakes circulate, and grading experts are the only ones who can confirm authenticity. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. A coin you've overlooked for decades, tucked between your couch cushions or stored in an old jar, might just be your ticket to the unbelievable. Every collector dreams of this moment, holding history, wealth, and mystery all at once. The 1980 no mint mark Lincoln penny is more than metal. It's a secret, a miracle, and a once-in-a-lifetime treasure hiding in plain sight. Time is running. Dealers are hunting. Auctions are exploding. And the truth is, you never know when fate might place a coin like this in your hands. It could be in your pocket change today. It could change your life tomorrow. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but today, it could be worth nearly $1 million. And the truth is, most collectors will never even know it exists. It all started quietly at the Philadelphia Mint in 2002. Lincoln pennies were being struck by the millions, but a tiny error went completely unnoticed. No one could have imagined that a simple oversight during production would later turn a common penny into $1 million treasure. For decades, pennies from this era were ignored. They jingled in jars, rolled under couches, and were spent on coffee without a second thought. But this particular penny was different. Hidden in plain sight was a subtle, almost invisible anomaly, a minting flaw so rare that experts say fewer than a handful exist. Collectors were shocked when the first of these pennies surfaced in a small, local auction. What seemed like a regular 2002 penny was suddenly being examined under microscopes and magnifying glasses. Experts discovered a tiny but critical detail. The coin was struck without a mint mark, making it a Philadelphia no mint mark issue, but that alone wasn't enough. What made it priceless was a double strike on the date, a slight doubling of Lincoln's profile, and a faint ridge misalignment only visible to the trained eye. Dealers across the country were scrambling. One by one, news outlets picked up the story. What was supposed to be an ordinary coin had collectors chasing every jar and drawer they could find. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, turning a lifetime habit of saving loose change into an unbelievable windfall. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A collector in Ohio found a 2002 no mint mark Lincoln penny in a dusty old coin roll. It looked ordinary at first glance, but a closer inspection revealed the subtle imperfections that made it extraordinary. Within days, it sold for over $1.8 million. Yes, one tiny penny, a coin most people wouldn't even notice, had just changed someone's life forever. The frenzy didn't stop there. Auction houses received dozens of submissions from people who suddenly believed their change could be the next gold mine. Some coins were dismissed immediately. Others required professional grading, careful verification, and an expert eye to determine their authenticity. Every detail mattered. A slight scratch, a worn edge, or a misread date could mean the difference between a worthless penny and $1 million coin. This is why collectors are obsessed. Every roll of pennies, every jar of spare change becomes a potential treasure trove. One man's ordinary change jar turned into a life-altering fortune overnight. Dealers are now advising enthusiasts to check every coin they own, and the story of this penny proves why. But here's the secret most people miss. Not every 2002 no-mint mark penny is worth millions. The coin's value comes from a combination of extreme rarity and subtle minting errors. Experts say that only pennies with perfect doubling on the date and Lincoln's profile, a clean rim, and no visible damage qualify for this incredible price. Miss one of these details, and you could be holding an ordinary coin, worth face value. Imagine this: you reach into your old coin jar, pull out a penny, and notice something strange. The date seems slightly thicker. Lincoln's profile looks subtly shifted. Your heart starts racing. Could this be it? Could this be the penny that will transform your life? Because for a collector who knows exactly what to look for, this ordinary 2002 penny could be hiding in plain sight, in your drawer, on your counter, even tucked into your wallet. Many who have found these coins describe the moment as surreal. A coin that once bought a soda now represents the potential to live a completely different life. Trips, investments, dreams, all made possible by a penny no one thought twice about. And that's what makes this story so compelling. One small object, overlooked for decades, can carry unimaginable value. So how do you know if you've got one? Examine the date carefully. Look for doubling, tiny, almost imperceptible. Study Lincoln's profile and the rim. Ensure there's no mint mark, and check the coin's surface for imperfections that shouldn't be there. The difference between a regular penny and this rare 2002 no mint mark Lincoln penny is in the details. It's a subtle, almost magical distinction that turns spare change into $1 million fortune. Collectors across the U.S. are now searching high and low. From dusty drawers in grandparents' homes to forgotten rolls in thrift stores, every penny is a potential miracle. One small decision, to save it, examine it, or toss it, could lead to the most exciting discovery of your life. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million.